Man, Rooster, it's gotta be 5 o'clock somewhere. And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to
That show.
That Show.
You're here.
I'm Bishop.
I'm Rooster. Thank you guys for coming. Today we're...
What did you say? C what?
See what?
C.
Central CIA.
CIA?
Yeah.
Why, we're talking about the CIA?
Yeah, we are.
Are you sure?
Yep, we're talking about the Central Intelligence actors.
Oh, actors. Actors. Okay. Because I was afraid we're going to get flagged for sure on this one.
They're coming for us!
Just hear, man, freeze! We want to talk to you!
We know it's you, Rooster and Bishop!
Well, you wake up with a wet towel on your head.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, what's happening?
We're exposing government secrets today, folks.
What do you call it? It was Project
Mockingbird.
Mockingbird.
So they recently, obviously, Freedom of Information Act, they released all these files that show how the CIA have been involved in Hollywood and films and stuff since like the 60s. I think
It was before that. It was in the 50s.
Yeah.
It was in the 50s when the first congressional hearing happened.
I think they said the reason for it was they were getting like a lot of propaganda out of the Soviet Union, and they were like trying to counteract all that influence on the United States. That's from what I read, but
you have to look at it in an intellectual sense, right? Because here recently, in the past years, we've watched in the political parties, everybody scream misinformation, right? Outside country influences, hacking, all this different stuff. But the reality is that our own government, right, has to push their agenda as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So
that's what got me thinking. Was I was like, it's easy to be like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, but it's like, if the Soviets are pushing information, it's like you better be pushing information too to keep up, or else they're just gonna fucking brainwash your society.
Yeah, but at the same time, you look at what the relevance is, and you go, what information are they putting out? So, for those of you who don't know, I will put a couple links in this video down below, and you can check it out for yourself. Project Mockingbird's been around for a long time, and what the really spooky thing is during the 50s congressional hearing was literally at the time, the CIA director was like, no, I'm happy to discuss that in an executive session. Well, if you don't know what executive session means at a congressional hearing, that means that they kick everybody out, and only the people that have top secret clearance are allowed to have that information, which that information was never made public in that executive session.
Okay.
So you might as well be saying, yeah, we did it, and we're still doing it, and we're going to keep doing it. So,
right.
But in today's terms, like you were saying, that you look at what's happened in the news for the last 2 or 3 years, and we just had our last episode, Under the Influence, right? Mm-hmm. That perfectly ties into what we're talking about today, folks. So you look at the information's being pushed, and you look at a project like this, Mockingbird, and you have people that literally work for these intelligence agencies that are on salary or receive gifts, or they're influenced, monetarily or materially, to say certain things that have been handpicked, and that's not okay.
Right.
That's not journalism.
Right.
That's not journalism. I mean, we might as well have Orson Welles giving us our news. At that point, I mean, get Willy Wonka out here. And start bribing everybody with candy. What's going on?
Right. Yeah. I forgot what I was about to say.
Well, it happens.
Yep.
but they turn it around, and then and they want to discredit it and say that it's not a big deal. All the countries do it.
Right.
Everybody's doing it. I don't care. I don't care if you're part of some group that you run around dressed up as freaking furry little animals and do weird shit. That is still not okay. I don't care if everybody's doing it. I'm not doing it.
See, from what I read, it seemed like the main driving factor was that, and it really ramped up in the 90s from what I read, because the Cold War stopped, so the CIA was like, we got to figure out what to do. But from what I saw, what really ramped it up was like military movies and stuff. They want equipment, they want Humvees, they want all this equipment that the Department of Defense owns, and so they would approach the Department of Defense and be like, you know, can we use some of your vehicles and stuff for the movie? And they'd be like, sure, as long as we like the script, as long as it presents the military in a way we find favorable. And so that's usually how it would work, was it'd be like, if you want the resources to make a good movie, then we control the script. We control how you present people. I saw a bunch of really cool examples about how, like, specific instances in, like, James Bond movies where they would remove, like, references of soldiers committing suicide and, like, all kinds of things that the government didn't want put in that kind of light.
Right. Well, and you look at what you said is pretty pivotal in history, right? So in the 90s, granted, I don't want to be an old fucker here, but the .com era, like,
way back in time,
came in like a freaking freight train, and that was when everybody really started having all this access to free information on internet. And you know, there's a lot of dangerous shit out there that, you know, right. and to that degree, I would say, okay, you don't want, I mean, you don't want to, you know, groom out and say it's okay to have 100 Ted Kaczynskis running around the goddamn country blowing people up with homemade bombs.
Right.
You don't want that shit.
Exactly.
You know, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself that that's still a restriction of information.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
and in our country, right? Not every country, but in our country, we're supposed to have access to all information, right? That's one of our rights. But the government still steps in and says, no, you can't read this.
Right.
You can't have this. This recipe for these cookies is ours. You can't have it. You can't have that.
Secret information.
But then it twists, right? Then it twists, and now let's say they don't like the narrative on, you know, politics. They don't like a certain politician. They don't like somebody or a certain area because they've changed or they live their lives in a different mindset or ideal, and it goes against, you know, the ideals of the mass.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to say to yourself, when does it stop though?
Exactly. Who gets to define
right.
what information you get to have and what not, you know?
So, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm glad I live in America.
Right.
I can't imagine living in a country that every single thing that's on the internet is monitored and censored.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like China and... Oh, we're banned. Did I say that?
You said it. Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
God. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, and China's not the only country. There's other countries out there that they really limit the flow of information. Mm-hmm. And the ability to do different things and, you know, create business, commerce, things like that. I mean, look at Venezuela. I mean, it's a dumpster fire down there. I mean, literally, I mean, their money is worth nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's like,
nothing.
In case you guys don't know, it's like $60,000 for a hot dog down there. I watched this documentary and this guy said he worked for 2 weeks and made enough money to buy a hot dog. The only way they can survive is if they have people who live in America to send them money because the currency is more valuable.
Right. And we look at the current situation in Cuba right now.
What's the situation in Cuba?
Oh,
stay tuned. Like
stay tuned.
Are they like? Oh, I feel like I've seen something on that.
Mm-hmm.
They're like revolting or something.
They're done with communism.
Yeah.
They're done with living underneath the regime where every little thing is restricted. You know that down there. You know, we heard this story. We won't give up the source, but we heard this story about being down in Cuba, and one of the things was, you know, if you go out and you go fishing. And if you're caught fishing, only fishing for yourself, you can go to prison for life.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
That's insane. That's insane. If your family is starving,
yeah.
Right, you're not even allowed to go and take something out of the ocean because it's considered the people's food or the people's resource, and
right.
You are everybody. You're just an individual.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Right.
That is insane.
For real.
So.
Yeah, and. It's crazy. We've talked about this before, but I've watched this documentary about this Cuban guy talk about how back when Fidel Castro started taking power, they were pushing all these socialist agendas and trying to they literally convinced the masses of the young population that this was the best way to go and that everything would be free and better, and this guy in the documentary said, "Oh yeah, no, they made us all equal. They put us all in the bottom of the fucking barrel." They made us all worthless, so we can't do anything, we can't see anything. It's crazy how you can manipulate people with these agendas of promising, you know.
Well, and you have to wonder sometimes too, is that, you know, those are past events, and, you know, the definition of insanity is that you keep trying the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome, right? But here's the crazy thing, is that what we're experiencing right now and what our flow of information through our media sources and everything, you can't tell me they're not being controlled. And you can't tell me that, you know, aspects of a situation like that in Cuba where communism was the government norm, that if people don't protect their rights and they don't protect their freedom of information, right,
they will take it away.
They'll take it away.
Yeah.
And we'll end up just like them.
For real.
You know, and that's not, I don't honestly see that happening in this country. There's too many people that, you know, value their rights.
Oh, yeah.
But the agenda is still there.
Yeah.
And it's pushed.
But that's the problem. They're like manipulating people to see where you're not realizing you're giving up your rights.
Right.
You know, you're signing them away thinking that you're, you know, going to get a better outcome. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they manipulate it. They take the same information, but then they flip the script on it, and then everybody thinks it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's the exact same thing the CIA does when they're manipulating movies to get you to view something in a certain way. In this other documentary I was watching, the lady said, if at the beginning of each of these films it said made with help by the CIA or assistance, he said they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do a goddamn thing because they know people would be like, oh, this is just fucking propaganda that I'm watching. But
you know who actually during the Second World War was a huge proponent in propaganda over in the European nations? It'll blow your mind.
First person I thought of was Hitler, obviously, all the propaganda he's pushing.
No, here in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
Here in the U.S. What media company?
Oh.
It's huge.
I don't even know who's been around that long.
Disney.
What? Really?
Disney had they had multiple propaganda films that they produced in their studios, and then they would show to, you know, the locals over in Europe, and as well as camaraderie boasting and empowering films for the soldiers when they would be in an area where they could watch film.
Huh.
And yeah, Disney was a huge proponent of
Really?
that. It's pretty trippy.
That's interesting. Were they like animated or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, animated, black and whites. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
In fact, sometime we'll have to get together and I'll show you, because I've actually got a bunch of those on DVD.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
cool stuff.
Yeah, I want to see those.
But it's just a matter of time before. I think it's not just one agency. It's not just one. This is not one group. There are multiple groups. The corporate entities now across the globe have become so controlling.
Oh yeah.
So many different things, and I think now what we're really watching is the power struggle to get absolutely on top. Right? Like, it's just amazing to think that we would blame, you know, other countries for our own fault.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Our own faults, where we should have been protecting ourselves from the beginning. Right? Because if we were doing our jobs and protecting our information and flow of news and media, then we wouldn't have to worry about outside influence.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another whole topic, I think.
That's what's funny about them saying, like, oh, Russia was hacking our election and all this shit. It's like, you guys were doing it. You motherfuckers were the one pushing this information.
Right, because you can't tell me that every keystroke that's ever done on any device in this country is not monitored by one government agency or another. You know, it's just where we live. It's what we do.
Yeah.
Right?
And I understand why it's like kind of necessary. You can't just let it be free reign and let things collapse. You got to try to manage it, but like we said, it's hard to define that boundary of when.
Oh my gosh! Emergency! Emergency!
That is the first beer ever spilled.
Definitely going on
this show. Oh my God!
Well, what we've got to do is we got to look at the long-term game, right? And so when we turn around and we just have to protect our own information.
Exactly.
And it's just Project Mockingbird. Just look it up for yourself. If you like the video, leave a like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Share it with your friends. Share it with your friends.
Yep. And we'll be back to tell you about more nonsense.
So unless
the next round's on you guys.
Because we need it. Right here.
For real, though. We gotta go.
We gotta go. Cheers.
That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to, that show.